Thank you everyone for joining us today. Assembly and Lomurro Law. We're co-hosting this webinar hosted by the very own Jon Lomurro, titled Selling the Change, Technology Adoption in Law Firms. Today, John's going to cover fears that law firms often face with new technology, from the unknown to making mistakes, overcoming those resistances to learning something new, the dreaded instruction manual, and just some real world examples of certain technologies featuring Neos, AI, CoPilot, Plaud, which is pretty cool, and a few others. A little bit about our speaker today, if you don't already know him. Jon Lomurro is a certified civil trial attorney, board certified in medical malpractice law and civil trial law, and specializes in medical malpractice and personal injury cases. He has authored 5 books on legal practice and frequently lectures across the U.S. on topics such as medical malpractice and legal technology. I was fortunate enough to sit in on one of these sessions just last week, so he should be fresh. With that, Jon, I'll let you take it away. I'm very much looking forward to this. And just as a reminder to everyone, if you do have any questions at any point in time, put those into the chat, the Q&A. We'll try to address those. Yeah, take the reins, Jon.
Thank you, Jason. Welcome, everybody. Tech, wow, it's a scary concept, right? It's actually a fantastic. I guess you'd call it a techno optimist. I like to believe that the opportunities that are presented to us are so much, have vast superiority over the stagnant, stationary position that we're in. So when Neos asked it, they're like, "Hey, want to do this?" I'm like, "Yes." I would love to tell people a little bit about how we overcome the hurdles that are so common within the field, legal field. Specifically, everybody comes with this, "Oh, I don't know. I am a little wary. This new thing is coming in and it's going to mess up. We have such a good thing already. Why change? Why adapt?" They have this fear of the process changing. How do we stay competitive while also slowing down to take off time from what we're doing to learn the new applications? Law is based in the past already, right? We look at past case law, past statutes, common law, and our world is just populated with citations from the past. But the future is really what is going to separate us from everyone else. And change is hard. With the right approach, it can lead to growth, not just for you, but for your entire team and your firm. And the ability to adopt technology is not unknown to us. So simply did we switch from the iPod up to the phone all the time and computers and moved to fax and then moving to email. Even we've upgraded our coffee machines. I mean, everything's always upgrading ready. Just have to say, hey, the slow adopters, you're to be surpassed by those that are willing to look into and move forward in a manner that is accepting and intelligent. The first thing everybody always hears is, "Oh my goodness, I'm irrelevant. I'm going to be replaced. Is my job gone? They need me anymore." What in fact just makes you enhanced in the skill set of whatever it is you do, how to do it better, how to do it faster, and making your job security actually more impressive with the adoption of the new technology. They also have that fear to learn, I can't click a mouse. I'm not good with technology. I'm not good with this or that. Look, I wasn't always a medical practice attorney. I thought medicine was impossible. It was Greek, a different language to me until it started to matter. It affected my clients. It affected me personally. And you realize that these are just blocks that we set in our mind to preclude us from walking to something unknown, fear. And you have to get past that fear of failing at something to just say, why not give it a shot? And I can work and get better. Not to mention, lawyers come with the immediate, well, confidentiality, privacy. We're not going to the cloud. You're already in the cloud. Not going over here. You're not going to look at this or that just because of this unknown buzzword that always comes into us on privacy and confidentiality without looking into making sure that it's safe. I mean, that's all you have to do is some diligence. So how do you get your team excited, even yourself excited about a new technology, when these things are always weighing over you? There are some unique people. and you can find them amongst the group. So when I was a kid, my father's first secretary, Harriet, um, basically was the smartest one I'd ever met in my life. And when she retired at 85, to sit and go on with life, she asked me if I could set up a computer in her house. She'd never utilized one. I was a young kid, and I walked over. I'm like, she's never going to use this thing. And I set it up. I said, "Nice to see you," and drove home, expecting my good deed to come back in karma later on in life. But when I got there, she had already sent an email to my mom. And the fact that she could overcome that technological hurdle of never understanding it to actually completing a step in that fast of time demonstrates that it's not age, it's not um, anything that other than our own fear of act. So the first thing you could do is get a champion champion at our firm. We've got one in each department. Lauren is my paralegal, is the champion for our med mal department. The person that is going to embrace and say, "Hey, this is going to make our job easier. This is going to save us a ton of time switching to Neos specifically on how finalize motions." Well, everything's tagged right there. How do we compel them to provide depths? Go to the depth tab. Down there are all the emails. Down there are all the notices. There's all the excuses in the pleadings. Here's everything we did. It's as if you've taken that red style, all your manila folders, and said, you know what, instead of popping through these papers, have it instantaneously at our fingertips. And the embracer is not the person who owns the business or is forcing people on into it. It's a champion that is going to lead everybody else in the office forward, who's on a standpoint of equally accessible, no fear of saying, "Hey, boss, I don't know this." Instead, it's, "Hey, teammate, hey, partner, hey, Lauren, help." And that gives you the ability to get past something of fear, because there's always that question, so dumb question. Well, sometimes asking a dumb question of your boss is very hard. It's hard to approach somebody when you're worried about job security because of the previous slide talking about fear. So if you train the champion on the task before you send it out to everybody else, then they come along with you. And if you include them, say, "Hey, we're doing this checklist thing. This is what I have, but what do I know about the inner workings, the actual everyday stuff? Can you help me, Lauren? Can you get everybody else on board to create something that they can embrace, that they can learn from?" And then the other team will successfully move forward. And when we do that, it becomes a new world of all of these tools open to success that were crafted by them. It's just a digital format. So to rework the checklist, to turn the questions and answers, to turn the answers to adoption, it makes it an easier transition, involving them in the creation. As for the lawyers, that's another animal. There is just a fear of adoption. They like to run away with all these words, like I was talking about before: confidentiality, privacy, hallucination, every other excuse to deal with the monstrous tech demon that just pops up into their minds. You can address those. You can address that by saying, "Hey, this is just a lack of understanding in your mind. So I have to address it with the lawyer. Say, hey, let's sit there. Let me educate you as to the new technology, show you the benefits. That way we can overcome the resistance of understanding, show what it can do, and then train them on how to do it." Because the process of training how to do it can be overwhelming without knowing why it's going to benefit. Then, of course, there's bad communication. Jump to the evils of a manual. Here's a manual, learn this and go. There has to be somebody like Lauren, or somebody that is your champion or your inside scoop. Somebody could talk to everybody who can effectively, clearly communicate the benefits of technology and the benefits of what's happening, and also report back to you and everyone else about issues or sticking points that cause resistance, so you can address them head on. And of course, many lawyers and many staff have a lack of trust with technology that is built upon seeing the fears that have been thrown into the news and thrown into our faces of everything going wrong. And well, had phones shut off and computers die and power go out and all of these things, but changing from trust a source before you've even got it. So it's giving up. So you have to build that by showing reliability, the security that's actually provided by the new technology to overcome that initial resistance and then make everybody happy and they're super excited. It's not that scary. Let's go. You're never going to get a million positive examples. You're never going to get everybody to buy in, but you can address the few negative comments and turn those naysayers into positive by addressing the fear with facts. One of those is a great example is the New York case. This is AI. Artificial intelligence just come out, and a couple lawyers out of New York were like, hey, let's use this ChatGPT thing, write our brief. We're not going to check any of the citations. We're not going to look over the work. We're just going to trust that the computer that has just been invented in turn public is going to give us the right answers. So when they did this, they got reprimanded. They got in trouble. They had to pay a fine. They had to apologize to the judges that were miscited. A lot of things came their way that were bad. And it's made national news. Everybody saw it. So immediately everyone was like, I'm not using it. But the problem is that if you took the time to read the judge's opinion, the actual opinion and order for sanctions, it was very logical and actually pro use of technology. What the judge was telling them is that, hey, good lawyers appropriately obtain assistance. We do it every day, right? We switch books to Westlaw, Lexis, to all what service you use to look up cases. Technology is common. There's nothing inherently bad about it. It's just a fear of using it. But if you don't use it, you're behind. If you didn't use the electronic means to look for case law, you would be 4 months behind on the books. And new cases can come out in between, and then you don't know the law the way you should. And that is actually doing a disservice. We should be jumping into this. We should be using it correctly. Courts were always a little fearful of change and also accepting of it at the same time. Look, in Jersey, where I practice primarily, we had till 1950 before we were allowed to utilize a display in the courtroom like a blackboard. And then there was a battle over photos and a battle over music video, and then a battle over PowerPoint. But as with every case, it's just saying, hey, it's not the tech that's good or evil. It's whether the user is utilizing it correctly in a manner that is good or evil. We have to be ready to accept these changes. The Chief Justice, he gave a speech at the end of 23. And it was after the whole first year of OpenAI, the disastrous situation with the New York attorneys and a couple other ones. And he's, look, AI is here. Our judge is going to be obsolete. So it wasn't even a question of were you going to adopt this look at it. It was literally, are we going to be replaced? And he says, I'm not, but it's going to transform our work. And that's true. If you don't work with it, you're going to be left behind. So now we're getting citations, now we're getting case law, now we're getting the history. So you're actually going backwards to make attorneys and stuff understand that you could move forward appropriately if you abide by those old rules that we know, the rules of press conduct, the case law, everything. Because the courts are moving, they're going to adapt. And if they adapt, we should adapt. But in fact, we should be ahead of the game so we know how to meet the opportunities and challenges that are presented through the judiciary, accepting it. Back in 2011, there talk about just playing back videotape testimony, and she was at trial. Can you show a videotape to the jury? Oh my goodness! And this would obviously look. This is not complicated. It should be in your offices. It should be everywhere. But this isn't brand new information. You want to go back to 1978. This is Howard Markey, one of the founders of the American Court. And he did an article, Star Wars are starting to cite, fantastic. And the site's there if you ever want to read it. Text here, and it's going to stay. And that's from 78, telling us, look, the only one that fears it are those people that don't have a mind that's open to receive it. So you need to get over those three initial hurdles by bringing your champion, educating them and showing the possibilities of how it will make their life easier, their practice areas work better, and it'll create that welcoming by saying, hey, everything gets better over time if you are on it, do it appropriately, ethically, and intelligently. Having those things at your fingertips will allow you to move to the forward without moving to the past. You could also point out, hey, the courts aren't just saying they're going to use it, they're using it. So this was a decision out of the 11th Circuit, and the concurring opinion came out, which talked that actually utilized artificial intelligence to generate part of the opinion. Now, I used AI to summarize it so that I could show you a kind of a nice example. I went on my server, which I was using as Westlaw, and I downloaded a copy of the case PDF. I took my PDF, I threw it in the chat. ChatGPT is the first LLM, the one that kind of started this generative technology situation. It said, "Hey, chat, can you summarize that concurring opinion in the case?" By telling it that, it automatically jumped down to the concurring portion of the opinion, and then gave me a great summary, which then, of course, read the case to verify it was spot on, what it was. And it gave me these potential benefits, drawbacks, what he talked about, why he was using it. But that's too long for me to sit here and tell you, hey, this is what the case stood for. So I then said, hey, summarize that entire opinion, the concurring opinion in one single sentence. And it was that AI, large language models, which takes information from billions of written work over the span of hundreds of years, and it's determined how does these words mean in the way that they're utilized. How is that not the best way to understand the ordinary meaningful work? It's better than just going, hey, the people that wrote Webster's Dictionary, what they thought, or Cambridge Dictionary, what they thought. No, you have benefit of all dictionaries and all writings determine what the ordinary meaning of a term used in every language is. Not to mention, it also can search the entirety of the internet to come up with that answer. So it's here. And every time new technology comes back, we need to look back and say, hey, look, the court jumped on this fast as us. We can't be left behind in the system, behind our adversaries. We be staying moving forward. So it's not a fear of being replaced. It's a fear of surviving. You should be encouraged to do these things. And you could have some fun with it, which is always nice. Like I would, Johnny Cochran give that comment. And use this theory of, hey, I'm going to ask the machine to tell me what I did, and then I verify the outcome and enjoy what those results are. So educate your team, show them how you're going to get some success and how it can be done. So we'll walk a little bit through AI just because it's new, it's tech savvy, and it's the talk of the moment. It was funny because I've been talking on it since 22, but it just happens people have now overcome that initial fear of the New York case and the lawyer for Trump who used the wrong sites. I mean, these arguments are going to come into play. You can now talk into your computer and have a chat with the chatbot. You upload documents of any style, Excel, PDF, Word, doesn't matter, and you can search the entirety of the web and just ask any question you like. But the problem is we have to understand that when we ask these questions or comments of a computer, it's just a machine. What you put in is what you have. So just like when you first jump into Neos, or you first jump into Adobe or Word, and you don't go in blind. You have to find out how to use the product appropriately. So let me give you a little background on what LLM is, because it's going to come into play in everything we have coming up. A large language model takes a collection, like I was talking about, documents from libraries, online resources, the internet, whatever it is that the owner of the LLM wants to throw into that database. And that collection started as a couple hundred parameters, went to 175 billion parameters, and now it GPT-4, 1.8 trillion, and they're almost about to come out with ChatGPT-5, which I can't even imagine how many parameters are there. The parameters are looking at each of those individual words, how they were utilized in a sentence, what one word matches another. So if you're talking about a rat, you might think the cartoon Ratatouille, or talk about rat and you're thinking about a criminal case where they're ratting out co-defendant. There's different ways that certain words can go. The hailing of a cab, the hailing hailstorm. This computer is now based upon that ordinary use of language where all of the different inputs in its database starts to understand the type of language we're speaking. And then the coders, the people that made it, teach it how to create a model to train on what the right response is. This is all the different types of permutations of that word, a sentence. What are the ones that are appropriate for the output? And it filters down into, based on the context that you're talking about, the answer. That's in consideration you as the individual user, what your personality is based upon previous interactions with the machine and what it is your question is seeking. And each, that was good, that was bad, I'll copy this, I'll delete that. Each user engagement gives a signal to the machine so that next time that signal is part of the data collection and is learning. So we, every day utilizing it, are training it, it is learning from the past. As lawyers, we talked about that confidentiality and privacy thing, and that's where we first fear. And that's why there's a lock on many of the services that you utilize. Neos is a great example. It has an AI and it's limited only to your data on their servers, doesn't go back into that data collection point. It is limited and protected. You don't have to worry about this being disseminated. But that information is only known if you read and ask and you find out. So the fear of, but I said it, it's now somewhere, needs to be quelled by a conversation with that champion of your firm, with that tech person at the service to say what is protected. Well, what about, and then it goes the hallucination. We also saw that. They made up that case, right? And that made up case, I can't do with that. The made up information out of document, I can't trust what I'm seeing. That lets us go retrieve augmented generation or RAG. This makes us have a verifiable information within, say, an AI system. And a RAG is a little different style. So when I said, hey, can you summarize that opinion? I didn't care about what it knew for the history of time. I just wanted the answer from that document. So when it went to chat, chat said, all right, let me create a small database. So it extracted data and created a new answer packet, a database separate and apart from the large language. It uses that to get the answer. But the larger model speaks and understands language through the general database. So using your understanding of language that you form, it's like us spending a whole lifetime with our family talking, but then we read one book and somebody asks you a question about the book, you are able to use your language you learned through your life to interpret the question from a friend and answer about just the pages of the book, which is what starts to help replace any potential hallucinations. A good example is AI assisted in Adobe. It's nice and easy. Everyone that has utilized Adobe or PDF viewer, even Neo's had one, knows that it's a singular document. So here's an example. I loaded up a product called compartment syndrome. An article, compartment syndrome, and I clicked the AI assistant. This allowed the computer to look and export those words into a small database, and then tell me this document is about compartment syndrome of the lower leg and foot, diagnosis, treatment, etc. But what's cool about it, it also gives me different things I might want to talk about. Ask it, and gives you that chat bot, something where I can interact with the document. So here I'm going to ask it, hey, what are the compartments of the lower leg? The assistant, after reading the document, says the compartments of the lower leg are bop, 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 bop. And then it can give me a verifying bit that can go, all right, let's click that and find out where did they get it from? There it is. So this is that example, right? Now, instead of hallucinating, saying, I don't know where the heck it is, you now have this answer at fingertips. Summarize just a smaller document. Tell me about what it means. And that's kind of what is coming to play. I guess tonight they're launching the Neos AI, which is going to have a similar scenario where it's going to be able to generate documents, analyze documents, extract information, create even parties from like a simple business card or photo ID. So the think about that kind of concept. It's not just words now; it's also images. So the images allow the LLM to say, all right, got a license, know where the name is, know where the address is. We're going to create this whole thing. Or business card, we know what are the items that are contained on it, and translate those images into words into something that they can pull out. So similar to like I was showing Adobe, they've got to analyze. You can literally click on any of your documents and have it give you a summary. So you don't have to open it up each time, read everything. You can just click buttons and it can enhance and speed up your actions. Think about how simple this is. When a new client walks in and you get the ID pop, it gives your staff, you're going to have this all input in a second. They're going to be able to quickly, every time they input a document, hit the analyze button. So you don't have to do it. It's just every time, like clockwork. I tag what I need. It goes where it needs. It's where it can find it. Wherever on pleadings, under records, under docs. That's also going to have a generated AI template. Summarization. And then you take those documents and you say, all right, I want to make an amendment of this. I'm going to use this template that they've created. It's going to port it out to Word. All of that is based on what I'm talking about, these concept of learning and making your life easier. So yes, what I said is just showing you the finality, the things that can be done. That's how you sell the change. Don't scare them with, hey, this is going to take all these extra steps and you have to learn all these things. No, 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 no. It's going to create the hard part about it. It's going to skip the sections, go right to the draft. It's a lot easier to proofread than it is to generate blind. That is that concept of overcoming and making sure things are in the proper place and that people have accepted it. This is one where I was showing how to take a brief I wrote, so the other way around. I said, here, I wrote a brief, make it better. Revise it, make it more persuasive. There's a million ways you can do things like that. And the Neos AI will have this chat feature, kind of like we're talking about. Hey, here's the document. Walk me through it. What is the overview? Just like we saw here, this is what the document's about. And this is where we're going to be able to chat, upload more information, and go into it. It's just like Neos, Microsoft's kind of added in AI. So if you have these things, someone's going to start utilizing them. You're not going to be able to train effectively, and then bad things are going to happen. It's better to educate, practice, and move than it is to just see people doing it on their own without proper education, which leads to the New York incident where people are just like, it said yes. Chatbots weren't built to give you an answer. Chatbots were built to just have a conversation with you that was enjoyable, to tell you what you wanted to hear. But we wanted to hear the answer. It wasn't supposed to give the answer. So now it's trying to change to a product that can give you an answer based upon what information is for it, which we don't know what's loaded in. That's one of the big scary things about LLM. But if we can limit our information to gather to our own clients, wouldn't that takes away 9% of those fears? The confidentiality of the privacy. I mean, Neos is a secure system, locked 6 ways to Sunday. It's just like CoPilot and Microsoft locked. Azure doesn't back into open AI. It doesn't go out into everywhere else. It's kept in those platforms. So here is an example where I'm at point. And just when you can PowerPoint, it gives you the opportunity to create a presentation on its own through a text. So I could type in, hey, maybe artificial intelligence tools in attorney practice. It will generate for me an entire AI set. It actually tells me to say, in today's landscape, rapidly changing landscape, it's imperative for attorneys to leverage technology to improve their practice. AI-powered tools offer a range of benefits from streamlining legal research, documenting review, to providing insights to litigation strategy. So it's not only told me, here's the slide, but here's what you can say. This is a good way to speed up things, to understand what things are coming. This is what the wording is in the note section. So you have not only the imaging that it creates, but the words. Proofreading. getting over a mind block or a writer's block. Give me the next opportunity. These are successes that you demonstrate to those that are wary of trying something out. Um, it goes into email. Now, anyone knows me knows I hate email. I get 9 billion emails. I can't stand them. I can't find the things I want. So having Copilot built into it allows me to say, hey, find this thing that I said that time, or hey, I had to email this person about this thing. And I don't have to do word search. I don't have to do that. I can just say, get me that thing. And that will find me the thing and give me a link. I can click the link and it will take me to that email. It will cull through everything and make it a lot easier. And then I'm going to tag that to Neo so I don't have to look for next time because I was lazy and didn't do it the first time. But you don't want to be lazy. You want to be techno optimist. You want to be inclusive of working. Copilot's also built in, like I said, all the different Microsoft products. So here's an example of it in Word. I typed out a particular paragraph, it then highlighted it, and I could rewrite it with Copilot. It gave me 3 different versions, gave me suggestions on how to write it better. It has the biggest thesaurus in the world. It has the biggest dictionary in the world, far greater than I could ever imagine because I just can't read that much and then memorize it. It gets all jumbled in my head, hence hallucinations for it. But for verification purposes, it's such a great opportunity. Then there in the upper right, you can see there's a thumb up and thumb down, so we can learn from your actions, like I was talking about before. But to have those tools and also to work on tech that was hard at first. Excel's one of those programs that nobody wants to adopt. They're just like, I don't understand. This is really crazy. It's horrible. I want to hire somebody else. Having Copilot built in or having that champion that knows how to use Copilot, the tech savvy ones, can literally click and say, hey, can you make it into a chart? People like charts better. And it will literally create what's called a pivot table. A pivot table is a very difficult thing to create if you're not tech savvy, but this basically it. And it was done in a couple words as opposed to a ton of coding and oversight and box checking. There are other products like Anytime, and that takes an entire book. So out of 2,173 pages, can you read this entire treatise on Titanali's medicine? And can you tell me what the standard of care is for leaving a metal object in an eye? It took me to the page in line and highlighted the exact answer for me. I wasn't going to read 2,173 pages. I wasn't going to. I'd go to the back of the book, look up try to read all the chapters. Man, it saves a lot of time because it's got that retrieval of the information. Think about what you're going to be able to do, even with Neos and everything we have the position. Summarize the depth. Did the doctor look at the X-ray? Did he ever go and say anything about it? No, he didn't. Doctor didn't look at the X-rays. And then in the actual deposition, not only did I not look at the text, I didn't look at the X-rays. I didn't go back. So another product you heard Jason talk about. It's my favorite. It's called Plaud. It's on the back of your phone. It goes on the back of the phone. It's like a magnet thing, and it can record. There's a button here. It goes when it's red, it's recording both sides of the phone conversation. When it's down, it turns into a microphone. So if you're at a seminar or whatever, you throw it on the table and it can record everything. I like it because then you're in the moment. So as opposed to looking down and missing something or not paying attention to the person you're talking to, or if you're driving and you can't write down notes, you just turn this thing on and it's recording the conversation. And it's not just recording because we all have things that can record audio. It transcribes it word for word what you're talking about. The speaker gives timing, and it also generates a summary of the conversation. So we do it at a meeting. At the end, it says you discussed X, Y, and Z. And you can import things. So one of the things I learned this is once you tech and you're willing to get it differently, those audio that you may have on a audio recorder or dictation machine, or even when you call the court and say, hey, can I get an audio of yesterday's hearing? You can take that audio and put it into Plaud or one of the other services, and it will transcribe that audio. It will also create a meeting notes, a mind map. Here, these are all the things we discussed at that meeting. All those things about that particular argument, that discussion point. Saving you someone having to be the secretary, somebody having to be the person that creates the summary, somebody that outlines the next steps in the conversation. And it can be instantaneously shared amongst all those that were participating in the conversation. Now, there are simultaneous transcriptions that can be made utilizing different services that while you're talking and they're typing, some of them you have used Zoom has that add-on, and literally as I'm speaking now, I don't know if it's on or not, you can see word for word what I am saying at a time. Think about how cool that is at a deposition. So this is my layout of my office. It looks crazy, NASA style, and a little messier setup, but it's all logical. And it becomes logical once you see how I use it. So I have a screen for sharing so that I don't have to worry about sharing the wrong information. On the left side of the screen, I've got my net notes for the deposition. On the right, which I'm looking at now, is the Zoom. What nobody else knows is I also have on another screen with my entire case file videos, a chat bot with my teams. If anybody else is on the call, wants to discuss with me what's going on my iPad, I've got ChatGPT or a place I can talk about questions. So if I get a depth question I don't understand, or it's just a word or something I've never heard of, I don't have to look at it, and I can't kick myself for not knowing the situation. I could literally go, hey, give me some depth questions regarding this. Go back to what I'm doing, take a break, and then see what was generated and find out the next set of questions to go forward with the witness. And then, of course, you have the voice transcription at the bottom. So although it looks like it's overwhelming, it's actually not. It's very organized. You can strategically pick where you're looking and what you're doing throughout the deposition. But you have to be embracing of technology and not fearful of it. Because the first time somebody looks at my desk, they just go, "What the heck is that?" And then it's like a panic mode. But you can't have that fear. For a few dollars, you get to put something else up. You get to become that next better version of you, something with an assist to take it over the goal line. So this is PowerPoint. Here's a nice easy one. So people have been using PowerPoint for, but in court, sometimes some objection, you want somebody to focus in on you. If you hit the B button, this has been forever PowerPoint. The screen is black. And now they all turn to you. You draw the attention in. It's not, technically doesn't have to be complicated. It could be simplistic. It's B for black and W. Guess what that's for? White. So depending on what you're using, if it's a TV, go B. If it's a projector and screen, go B. But you want to focus in on what you're doing. Just like knowing the technology that your doctors are using or what is there. So this is a program it's called Radiant. Radiant's an icon view. .com is the format for every single radiological imaging. A long time ago, decades ago, the radiologist said it's not cool that one of us could open the film and another can't. So everything, no matter if it's an EMG, an MRI, a CT scan, an ultrasound, whatever it is, it's always the same format and can be opened on anybody's computer, any program. Get that, any program. So find one that you like that you work with. Find one that can make the axial and sagittal view and give you a slice or a reference point. So here you got a line that shows you the difference between where you're looking on one image versus the other. But you also have an amazing ability in these programs to create something live. So instead of looking at this picture of a brain as an ink blot, you can then turn into a 3D rendition, and it's showing you what this is. Any radiologist can do this, and so could you, what they're really looking at. And then if you want to say, I want to see inside the skull, that's the purpose here. You can actually dissect the 3D image as a lawyer. I mean, it's just like anyone clicking to see where the tumor was and where the shunt was placed into the vein. And that's a lot easier to understand than those ink blots going slice by slice for the jury, for you, for your staff, for anybody. So it's like you have to make a decision. Do you want to see the image on the right or do you see the image on the left? Can combine, but being scared of radiology, being scared of medicine, being scared of embracing tech is to only do a disservice to yourself and client. And by educating, championing, and moving ahead, you can start to say, all right, I'll adopt that. I'll accept that. I'll implement that. And then your team succeeds. And you should start with simple things like power toys. What's a power toy? Who knows? Doesn't matter. But what it means is that when you click controls, it highlights where your mouse is, because I lose my mouse on my 5 screens. It's a ridiculously easy thing. The B and the W, the black and the white. Start simple to get that understanding that tech can save time. I'll repeat it. Tech can save time. It's a tool. It's not to replace, it's to enhance. And when you have these things at your fingertips, you can start to really transform how your firm practices and how you practice. Another one that I like is called a power mirror. This allows you to use your iPhone or your iPad and display it on a PC computer. So it turns your PC into an airplay device, which gets a million views to Sunday on how that's beneficial. And that's kind of what it is. You have to see what it's beneficial to show everyone else how to adopt it. Get the champion to understand first. Get Lauren, your Lauren, whoever he is, to buy into what you're doing so that they can see before they get inundated with how to get there. Then they can embrace the steps to get there. We've all gone on YouTube to watch tutorials, and we've all gone on to those great training modules. But you don't want to go there first. You want to understand the result so that way you can reach that end. You've seen some transformations in this presentation alone, which is called morphing. Like this board always scared me when I was a young lawyer. I hated it. It had too many words. I didn't know where to look. How's the jury supposed to what's happening and where is it going on? I wanted them to just focus in on this step by step. I wanted to go, all right, first thing is in order to do the fusion, you have to give an incision in the neck. You then have to open up to get to that spine where the damaged disc is. This also controls your expert. So instead of the expert just jumping around that board and skipping ahead, it focused them on a step-by-step guideline that's overwhelming to a jury that had maybe the same mental block that I had with medicine. Once that block is gone, once you get over those hurdles, you start to embrace the opportunity. Here, what we're doing is creating a duplicate slide. Put your image into one slide and duplicate. When you duplicate the slide, you go to the second of the two. Okay. At the second slide, we all probably don't do it now, but I'm not going to assume anybody knows anything because it's a seminar about accepting everything. You can take that second box, go to picture format and crop it. So instead of saying I want all of it, I just want that. So now slide one, image, slide two, zoom. But it's not called zoom. It's a transition called morph. Just like that. And what it'll do is it'll take your full image and it will highlight that one area. Now, an example of this is the old school, right? I used to boards. I literally, one of my trials, brought this as a board. It's the worst move of my career. And I've learned significantly since then. Because what are they looking at? Well, you know, you can't figure it out. But if you do that morph, go, well, no. Order 48's what matters. Call the surgeon if the heart rate's over 120. That is all that matters on. So you show them this and you bring them what matters. So they don't get distracted. They don't get overwhelmed and their brain shuts down. Try and bring technology to the firm, to you, by selling the change. This is what we can do. Don't be fearful. Here are the facts. Here's somebody amongst you that can do it with you. If you're scared to come to me, go to my champion. That's going to get adoption. That's going to bring in where people are sold on the idea. And the idea is that technology can bring us amazing things. So I appreciate your coming. I'll stop sharing now. If any questions, feel free to pop them in. But a pleasure for all of you. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, as John mentioned, if anyone has any questions, feel free to share those now. Also, John, I'm sure this video is going to be shared after the recording. So, what's the best way if anyone wants to reach out to you directly to get in contact? You mentioned how fond you are of emails. So, and
No, I emails drive me nuts. But they are a good thing. I would actually email my champion, Lauren. But that is LARC Lomurro at LomurroLaw.com. She'll make sure I get it. But if you want, I mean, actually, you can get me by text, and that's I'm actually gonna give my cell. Look at that, how crazy that is. Don't tell the internet the world, and that's 732-492-5116. So I'm around. But yeah, if you could avoid the email, I really would appreciate that. To me, go to Lauren, she'll tell you, I'll get you the answer. Uh, Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that, John. I appreciate you, and hope everyone enjoyed the content. And this will be made available. If you jumped on late, we'll share that with everyone who attended. But thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.